This web lecture covers the topics of simple formulas, formatting and functions in Microsoft Excel. In short, a formula is a calculation. To let Excel know that you are about to enter a formula, you start by entering an equals sign into the cell contents box. Then, typically a formula will use a series of values, i.e. numbers, or cell references, separated by mathematical operators. Let me show you which mathematical operators you can use. Here I have a value of 2 in cell A1 and a value of 3 in cell B1. The plus sign on the keyboard is used for addition, so we can now select cell C1 and type on the keyboard equals A1 plus B1. Alternatively, we can use a minus sign for subtraction, an asterisk for multiplication, a slash for division, and caret for raising a number to an exponential power, in this case raising A1 to the power B1. Note that after we type the equal sign, we can select the cells in the worksheet using the mouse rather than typing the cell references in on the keyboard. After creating a formula that refers to the values in other cells, if we then change the values in those cells, Excel will automatically recalculate the formulas. For example, if we change the value in cell B1 from 3 to 4, you'll see that the formulas entered all instantly recalculate and display the new solution. Note that equals A2 plus B2 asterisk C2 is the same as equals A2 plus in parentheses B2 multiplied by C2. If you want Excel to perform the addition of A2 and B2 and then multiply the result by C2, you need to use parentheses in this way. Equals parentheses A2 plus B2 close parentheses asterisk C2. The parentheses around the addition tell Excel that you want this operation to be performed before the multiplication. You may also need to use more than one set of parentheses, perhaps with one within another. In this case, Excel performs the calculation contained in the most inside pair of parentheses first. For example, this formula given here with two sets of parentheses, in this case, Excel will first subtract C4 from B4, then add the difference to A4, and then finally it will multiply the result by the value in cell D4. When you enter data into your spreadsheet, Excel constantly analyzes what you are typing in and classifies it into three categories: either a value, i.e. a number, text, or a formula. If the entry is a formula, Excel automatically calculates the formula and displays the computed result in the worksheet cell. If it is not a formula, Excel determines whether the entry is text or a value. You can tell whether Excel has accepted a cell entry as text because the text entries automatically align at the left edge of the cell. In contrast, a value is aligned to the right-hand edge of the cell. For example, this can be seen in my spreadsheet file here, giving seminar food costs in 2014. The items are all aligned to the left-hand edge of their respective cells. If I add in the month, that will also be aligned to the left-hand edge. But the food costs, as you can see, as I enter them in, are all aligned to the right-hand edge of their cells. Formatting is important because most formulas only work properly when they are fed values. Therefore, Excel may return an error if you write a formula that refers to a cell containing text. For example, here, if I try and sum up the values but include the month as well, I will get an error. If the text entry is wider than the cell can display, the text spills into the cells to the right, as long as the cells to the right are empty. If the cell to the right is not empty, the text won't be displayed, but you can redisplay the text by widening the column. For example, we cannot see the full text in cell A4. A useful way to widen the column, therefore, and display the full text is to position the mouse pointer between the two columns at the top of the worksheet and double-click. This auto-fit feature in Excel will automatically widen or narrow the column width to the length of the longest entry in the column. Note that to enter a percentage, you can either divide the number by 100 and enter the decimal equivalent. For example, sandwiches are 50% of the total, so we enter 0.5. Or you can enter the number with a percentage sign, i.e. 50, and then the percentage sign. When you use the percentage sign, Excel assigns a percentage number format to the value in the worksheet, so it appears as 50%. To see this, right-click and select Format Cells. However, it is not obvious, but what is actually being stored in the cell is still the decimal value, i.e. 0.5 in this example. To see this for ourselves, we could change the format of a cell back to a number rather than a percentage. Or we could multiply the percentage by 100 as I do here, and we still find it gives us the value of 50. We can also, for example, use a currency sign before a number, in which case Excel will assign a currency number format to the cell. Although you can format values in this manner as you go along, it is often quicker to assign a number format to a group of values after you have entered them. Simply select the cells containing the values, right-click, and then select Format Cells, and then choose Currency and select the currency you desire. Even if you don't want to use a specialized formatting category for your values, you can go to the Format Cells menu, select Number, and then adjust things like the number of decimal places or whether you have a comma to separate 1000s. Finally, we will consider functions in Excel. A function is a predefined formula that performs a particular calculation. Just as with a formula you build yourself, a function starts with an equal sign. Then you enter the name of the function, and then, in parentheses, the arguments of a function, i.e. the numerical values or cell references which the function uses when performing its calculation. Common functions include sum, which adds values together, average, which returns the mean value, max, which returns the maximum value, min returns the minimum value, and stdev.s gives the standard deviation of a sample. For example, let's use the sum function. After you type the equal sign and the first letter of the name of the function, A drop-down list will appear with all the functions beginning with that letter. You can double-click on the function you want to use and Excel will finish entering it for you. If you have more than one argument to your function, you need to separate them with a comma. Then close parentheses and press Enter. However, a much quicker way, which saves us selecting each cell individually, is to select the range of cells instead. I now show this using the average function. Simply click on the first cell and then holding the mouse button down, drag across the other cells to select the cell range. Another way to insert functions is to use the Insert Function button on the formula bar. I find this useful because you can list the most frequently used functions or the functions which belong to a particular category. The Help on this function link will also be a very useful tool to get information about how each function works. Once you have selected the function you want to use, for example here I choose median, the function arguments dialog box will appear. Here you can specify the arguments of a function by adding an individual cell or cell range into each of the number boxes. Click on the button to the right of the number box to select the cells in the sheet directly. And that concludes this web lecture video on formulas, formatting and functions.